10 X's, one question, why can't I move on? Hello, my amazing, unstoppable friends. Welcome back to my channel, and in this episode, we're going to look back at a long, complicated, and crazy love life journey. Just kidding. We're going to talk about 10, yes, 10, people who were part of my colorful love history, from innocent puppy love when I was just in 9th grade to the messy world of adulthood. Wow, you'd think it's a TV drama, right? But this is real life, my friends. A decade of searching, of failures, and of constantly asking myself, why is it so hard to move on? In this video, I'm going to spill all the crazy stuff, from scenes that feel like they're from a sad movie to moments where you just want to scream, hey girl, what are you doing with your life? We're going to talk about everything, no holding back. That feeling of not being able to escape the shadow of the past, the confusion between being with one person and being with many. Wow, the drama just leveled up. And that endless search for closure, like you're looking for a good signal in the mountains. Why are some people able to love many at once? And why am I, with just one, feeling like I've been suffering for 10 years? So if you're one of those who've had a deep heart-to-heart talk with your mirror while crying, or maybe you've stalked your ex until you found out the name of their pet dog, this video is for you. Join me as we revisit the 10 chapters of my love, my foolishness, and finally my learning. Maybe in the end it won't just be me who finds the answer, but you too. So get your tissues and popcorn ready, because our crazy throwback is about to begin. Let's go! Chapter 1, The Puppy Love That Had a Rough Ending. It all started when I was in 9th grade. You know that feeling when you're in high school where your biggest problem is whether you have a math quiz tomorrow? Then suddenly, boom, you meet someone who makes your heart beat like you're being chased by a dog. That was my first ex. Puppy love, as they say, that thrill you feel when your eyes meet in the hallway. Those sweet nothings exchanged in texts like, did you eat? And take care. Back then, I thought, this is it. They're my forever. What I didn't know was that our forever was as short as my patience with slow internet. Of course, since we were just kids, we had no idea about serious relationships. All we knew was the thrill. But the foundation? Oh boy, it was like a house made of flimsy sticks. One gust of wind and it would crumble. We weren't mature yet. Our fights were about why they didn't reply right away or why they liked someone else's picture. Petty things that when you look back now, you just laugh. And as expected, it didn't last. The magic quickly disappeared like a bubble. That was my first slap of reality. Not every sweet beginning has a happy ending. But it's okay, I was only in 9th grade, right? There were plenty of fish in the sea, or so I thought. Chapter 2. The self-love that became self-service. Fast forward to senior high, I had kind of moved on from the puppy love drama. This is where I met my second ex. This was the type who always said, I'm focusing on self-love right now. And me, being a fragile person, I told myself, okay, I'll just love you while you love yourself. Clever, right? The martyr is me. What I didn't admit to myself back then was that I was also just using them. I wasn't ready for anything serious yet. My heart was still in quarantine, not letting anyone else in. So what happened? Well, we were together, but we weren't. Get it? Like decaf coffee. It looks the part, but has no effect. I didn't fall for them right away. For me, it was just an upgraded version of puppy love. It had a label, but no substance. We talked, we went out, but my heart wasn't in it. It was like I was watching a movie, knowing it wasn't real. The truth is, I used them to fill the space left by the past, to have someone to talk to so I wouldn't be alone. And in the end, since their priority was self-love and mine was self-denial, we broke up. No crying, no drama. It was like the free trial just ended. And now we've reached college, new environment, new people, new chances at love. Oh, aren't I optimistic? This is where I met my third ex. I thought this was my fresh start. But my friends, there was an immediate plot twist. There was a third party. How awful. It's like you ordered your favorite food and when it arrived, it came with a cockroach. That's how it felt. What's even worse, the whole universe knew there was something between us, but the person involved was playing dumb, and in the middle of all this mess, they told me, just find someone else. Ouch, right? It was like they said, next contestant, please. The crazy part, instead of following their advice and finding someone else, what did I do? This is what I'll admit to you, my friends, and please don't do this yourselves. My heart and mind went back to my very first ex, the one from 9th grade. 9 years had passed by then, but their ghost came back to mess with my system. I couldn't move on from the third ex, but even more so, I couldn't move on from the first ex. It was such a mess. I felt like I was in a love triangle, but one corner of the triangle was a ghost from the past. My heart was like a broken record, constantly playing an old, worn-out song. Because, I was still heartbroken over the third ex and still affected by the ghost of the first ex, I entered a new phase of confusion. Fate, or maybe bad luck, introduced me to my fourth ex. This was my attempt to move on, like I just really wanted to try again. I told myself, enough with the drama, I need something new. But the problem was, the new person I chose also had their own baggage. They didn't want a third party, which is good, right? But here's the big but. I was the one pursuing them, but they didn't want to commit. What's that about? It's like you want to eat at a buffet, but you're not allowed to get food. Every day I put in effort, picking them up and dropping them off, treating them to lunch, everything a persistent suitor could do, I did. But every time I asked what we were, their answer was always, let's just enjoy what we have. Enjoy? I think I was the only one not enjoying it. Our situation was a huge red flag waving in front of me, but I, being colorblind to love, kept going. I didn't know who was having a harder time moving on, me from my exes or them from their fear of commitment. We were like two people running on a treadmill, exhausted but still in the same place. And the award for most complicated setup goes to Chapter 5, picture this. Intramuros, the stone walls, the horse-drawn carriages, the historical vibes. So romantic, right? In the middle of all that, with intense emotions and probably the heat of the weather, I said those three magical words, I love you. To whom? To my fifth ex. The problem? They had a boyfriend. Yes, my friends, they had a partner. I think I'm the queen of bad timing. I thought the scene was straight out of a movie, but it turns out I was the villain in someone else's love story. But here's a twist even more intense than overly sour Cinegang. After I confessed, what did they do? They broke up with their boyfriend. For me? Wow. I won, right? I was the winner. I felt like I was Dana. I defeated the enemy. But after everything, when we were finally together, that's when the confusion in my mind started. Who did I truly love more? Them, who left everything for me, or the ghosts of the past who wouldn't leave me alone? My victory turned into confusion. I didn't know if I was happy or just more confused. It was like I won the lottery but lost the ticket. After the Intramuros saga, here we are again, looking for answers in the wrong place. And that wrong place? A laundromat. Yes, you heard that right, in a laundromat. This is where I met my sixth ex. While my clothes were spinning in the washing machine, they spun my heart too. Things happened so fast. 1 week we met, second week we were dating, third week we were together. We rushed everything. I thought, if it's fast, I won't have time to think. The ghosts won't come back. But I was wrong. The truth is, I didn't love them. I knew it in my heart. They were just a placeholder, a rebound that I thought would help me forget. But the hole, instead of being filled, just got bigger. Because while I was with them, while I was saying I love you, my mind was screaming another name. Whose? None other than my first ex. 9 years had passed, but their shadow was still there, standing behind me, whispering, reminding me that I wasn't over them yet. And our laundromat relationship? It ended as quickly as a spin cycle. Oh boy, my friends, now we're at the part where things get a little tipsy. Chapter 7, sponsored by Alfonso. Just kidding. This is where I met my seventh ex. One night with a bottle of whiskey, we drank, we talked, and in my drunkenness, the magic words came out again. I love you. At this point, I love you was like candy to me. So easy to give away. I thought the alcohol would make me forget everything. But it didn't. The alcohol just brought out my true feelings even more. The emptiness, the searching. And if you thought I learned my lesson, you're wrong. History repeats itself, as they say. There was a third party again. I was the extra in my own love story again, but the difference now was I felt numb. It was like, oh, okay, a third party again. What's new? That's what's scarier when you get used to the pain. And in the middle of all that, who was still on my mind? Still my first ex. I still couldn't move on. I felt like I had a sickness that doctors couldn't find a cure for. The symptoms were repetitive, the pain was repetitive, and the search for medicine in the wrong bottle was repetitive. College Life, Part 2. The drama continues, and the stage, the university's freedom wall. This is where the story of me and my 8th ex revolved. We became a hot topic on the freedom wall. What were they? Were they together? Why were they so sweet but had no label? I was bullied, my friends. I became the talk of the whole campus because of a relationship I couldn't even understand. It hurt to be judged by people who didn't know the whole story. All they knew was what they saw. A girl or guy chasing someone who wouldn't give any assurance. The painful truth, they already had a partner. Boom! What a shocker. All this time, while I was being talked about on the freedom wall, they had promised forever to someone else. And when I confronted them, what did they tell me? The classic line from those who string you along, there's no forever. Wow, it was like I was slapped by a book of all the bitter quotes in the world. That's when I realized that I had become the villain in someone else's story without even knowing it. I became the reason for their fights. I became the other person. And the most painful part, I was hoping for us in a story where, from the very beginning, they were already the main characters. We're almost at the end, my friends. Chapter 9. This was the 4th-year party at Z-Axis. Graduating, last hurrah, and in the middle of the loud music and flashing disco lights I met them, my 9th ex. I called them my last love. I thought, after everything I'd been through, I had learned my lesson. I thought they would be my happy ending to my college love story. I was wrong. In this relationship, I was the one who hurt someone. I was the jerk. In my desperate desire to move on from all the pain of the past, I made them a fool. I poured all my anger and frustration with the world onto them. I made them a punching bag for my emotions. In my desire to prove to myself that I could be in control, that I could avoid getting hurt, I became the one who caused pain. But in that process, I learned something. I learned rational thinking. I realized that what I was doing was wrong, that hurting others isn't a solution to heal yourself. This was the turning point. This was the slap of reality I needed to wake up, that the problem wasn't them, the problem was me. And here it is, the grand finale, my 10th ex. This one is different. They weren't your typical we became a couple kind of ex. They just had ex-boyfriends, one by one, while we were friends. I witnessed their heartbreaks and they in turn listened to all my drama. One day we had a deep conversation. We talked about all my past, the 10 years of craziness. And in the middle of our chat I told them, I just want to be in a polyamorous relationship now. So if one leaves me, I'll still have 9. They laughed hard, but I knew there was a hint of truth in my joke. That was my defense mechanism. I tried it, I confessed to them, but their answer? I got friend-zoned, my friends. But you know what's surprising? It didn't hurt. For the first time, rejection didn't hurt. It was like, that's what I needed to hear. That's when I realized that polyamory isn't the answer. Having more people to love isn't the solution to avoid getting hurt. The answer is to accept that it's over. By friend-zoning me, that's where I found the closure I'd been searching for 10 years in 10 different people. Finally, I moved on. Not because of them, but because of myself. There you have it, my friends. That's my long TV drama. 10 chapters of love, pain, and foolishness. And in the end, what did I learn? It's simple. You don't need to go through polyamory or have many partners just to move on. That's not the answer. I used to think that if I loved many people, if I had backups, I wouldn't get hurt. But I was wrong. It just caused more trouble, more pain. The real answer, my friends, is within us. Self-love and growth. That's what will truly free us from the ghosts of the past. So my advice to you, if you're going through this now, breathe. You don't have to rush. Enjoy life. Travel, eat good food, watch a movie alone. Invest in yourself. Find out what you want, what your dreams are that have nothing to do with other people. Because in the end, the longest relationship you'll have is with yourself, so make sure you have a good one. Love yourself completely before you love anyone else. Don't look for other people to complete you because you've been whole from the start. And if you truly think polyamory is for you, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's legal, your intentions are pure, and everyone involved consents and is open to communication. But never ever use it as a way to escape pain or patch up a hole in your heart, because no one person or even 10 people can heal you but yourself. Remember that. And most importantly, never forget to love yourself. You are the star of your own story. You are unstoppable. Mwah!